Good evening. My name is Kirsty Bashforth and I am the Chief People and Communication Officer here at Diaverum, and I'm talking with you tonight from the UK. It's with great pleasure that I welcome you to our second Diaverum webinar, Living Well with Kidney Disease. World Kidney Day in March marked for us the beginning of World Kidney Year, when we are running a series of 4 webinars. I'll share more about the other 2 later tonight. And the theme of World Kidney Day this year was indeed living well with kidney disease. Here at Diaverum, we firmly believe that kidney disease, while a serious condition, does not mean that one has to give up hopes, goals, ambitions, or dreams. On the contrary, we believe that living well with CKD is very possible. Back in March, on our last webinar, Dr. Fernando Macario, respected transplantologist and expert on kidney health, also our Chief Medical Officer, spoke about the COVID-19 vaccine and whether it was safe for renal patients to get vaccinated. This time, we have Suzanne Pearce with us, our Corporate Nursing Director, who will discuss the quality of life for renal patients from her perspective. She's also invited 3 of our patients to share their views and stories with us on this topic. Bárbara, Oscarine, and Felipe have had completely different experiences as renal patients, but they do have one thing in common, a fulfilling life. And they are here today to tell us their secrets to living well with kidney disease. Now, some housekeeping rules. We have a lot to get through tonight, so allow me just to quickly run through some things with you. This webinar is planned for about an hour. If we need to run a little longer, if we have more questions, I'll let you know about 5 minutes before the hour. All attendees' microphones are off to maintain a high quality event for us all. In addition to the questions that will be covered by Susie and her guests, the Q&A functionality is open throughout the event for you to submit your questions at any time. The earlier you do, the better the chance of receiving an answer. So if you're asking a question for a specific person, please start your question with their name. Your questions will be visible only to you and to the technical team. And I must stress, while we look forward to answering lots of questions, we'll not be able to answer any questions regarding specific medical cases, and we'd ask you to please refer those to your doctor. Now, with that, Susie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kirsty, and welcome everybody to this webinar this evening. As we have a lot to get through today, I shall start immediately with the presentation. And as Kirsty said, we're talking today about living well with kidney disease. So how do we do this? We're going to talk today about mental health, well-being in the current situation, empowerment and involvement in care, and quality of life. So why are we talking about living well with kidney disease? Well, the World Kidney Day Steering Committee declared 2021 the year of living well with kidney disease. But we also know as healthcare professionals, there are many things that we can do for our patients other than just managing medication and their treatment. The World Kidney Day Steering Committee have also highlighted this in an effort to increase education and awareness, to look at maybe more effective ways of symptom management, and to empower our patients to live life to the fullest that they can. So there may be some people in here today who are new to chronic kidney disease, or maybe some carers. So I'm just going to briefly talk about what is chronic kidney disease. So we know that this is a problem globally, and about 10% of the world's adult population suffer from some degree of chronic kidney disease. But in a lot of countries, this goes undiagnosed until quite a late stage. It's a disease where kidneys don't work as well as they should. But just because you're at the early stages of chronic kidney disease doesn't mean that you'll end up in a place where you need some form of kidney replacement therapy. Only about 1 in 50 people who have the condition end up at that point. So chronic kidney disease is split up into 5 stages. So in the early stages, you may only have a mild decrease in your normal kidney function. And therefore, in stages 1, 2, and the beginning of 3, you may have only minimal symptoms or no symptoms at all. Towards the end of stage 3 and into stage 4, you'll probably be seeing your doctor more frequently and having more frequent blood tests. And your doctor may also prescribe you some medication to help with some symptoms. At the end of stage 4, this is where you as patients need to start to make some decisions about what kind of treatment you want when you reach kidney stage 5. And at stage 5, this is where most patients need some form of renal replacement therapy to keep them alive. So we're just going to talk very briefly about the different kinds of treatments for chronic kidney disease. So hemodialysis is the most common treatment. And this generally requires you coming into a hospital or more commonly into a clinic, or occasionally being able to do this at home. And this depends on where you live. It's a treatment where your blood is circulated around a machine and through a filter. So you normally have to come into the clinic 3 times a week, and it takes between 4 to 5 hours. Peritoneal dialysis is generally done at home and can be done during the day, but more commonly now is done overnight. And this is where fluid is placed into your abdominal space and then drained out. And whilst draining the fluid out, you're removing some of the toxins that your kidney would normally remove. Kidney transplantation is considered by far the best kind of renal replacement therapy. However, this is not available for all patients. It might depend on your illness, but it also depends on the availability of kidneys. It's also important to point out that kidney transplantation is not a cure. So you may need to have more than one kidney treatment or a combination of hemodialysis and kidney transplantation during the life that you lead on with chronic kidney disease. And Bárbara will talk a bit later about having had 2 transplantations. So when we look at this slide, which we've used from the Clinical Kidney Journal, and the references there on the page, this talks about the symptoms and life impacts that you as kidney patients have to deal with whilst you might be on the later stages of chronic kidney disease or whilst you're on a replacement therapy. So if we talk about the symptoms, you may suffer with some of these symptoms or more of these symptoms, but it's important to remember that your healthcare team can help you manage these symptoms and in some cases alleviate these symptoms completely. Life impacts. We're going to talk more about this, but patients with chronic kidney disease at the latter stages may struggle to continue to work or continue to travel. And Felipe later is going to talk to us about traveling with chronic kidney disease. There are also dietary restrictions and lifestyle changes that need to be taken into consideration. When we look at the strengths-based approach, this is about increasing patients' empowerment, building up your knowledge of your disease, and maybe managing some self-management in order to build confidence. Remembering all of the time that there is also clinical strategy for looking after patients who have chronic kidney disease. And in the early stages of your disease, your care team may talk to you about some measures they want you to take to try and preserve your kidney function as long as possible. And therefore, it's important to have the right knowledge and education so that you can make decisions about whether you continue to follow medical advice and maybe not reach stage 5 as soon as you might have done before. We move on to patient empowerment, which is an important part of this presentation today. So the World Health Organization defined patient empowerment as a process through which people gain greater control over decisions or actions affecting their health. It's important that you as patients are involved in your treatment and that you make decisions that are right for you, but you make them with the right information. Once you feel empowered and you have a lot of the information you need, you can enter into the shared decision-making process. So you as the patient sit central to this process, with the peripheries around you being healthcare professionals who have the information and knowledge that you might need. Your carers and family, who may also impact on what decision you make. Outside pressures, such as work and social activities. And patient education and patient literacy. And you'll see a theme here, we talk about education a lot. And this is important to be delivered in the right way so that you, the patient, can understand what's happening to you and what your choices are. So we're talking about all of this so you can maintain your quality of life and participate in life as fully as possible. We know through various studies and research that people with lower qualities of life don't have as good outcomes as patients with a higher quality of life. You might also end up being in hospital more frequently if you have a lower quality of life than others. Again, this is about taking part in decision making and making sure that you can maintain as much of your quality of life as possible. It's important I mention at this point that renal replacement therapy, specifically hemodialysis, can be very tough to deal with. It's not always an easy treatment, and some patients will deal with this differently than others. You might also have other illnesses that also impact on your ability to continue to participate in life as you were doing before you ended up on renal replacement therapy. But your care team will do everything they can to help you continue with a good quality of life. So can you still do things? Of course. Your lifestyle will change once you're on a treatment, but that doesn't mean you can't live a fulfilled life. For example, we would encourage all patients who want to continue to work, and you should continue to do that as long as possible. And your healthcare team will help you with things like arranging appointments at the right time for you. Traveling and going on holiday is not impossible. It may be difficult for some, but your care team again can help you with this. Exercising is always encouraged and is always part of any healthy lifestyle. And therefore chronic kidney patients are encouraged to exercise as well. But you might have to change the type of exercise you do. And just to reiterate, your lifestyle might change, but you can still live a fulfilled life with support from your healthcare team. We're just going to touch briefly on well-being and mental health. So people on dialysis, we know through research that there's a high percentage of people that will feel depressed at some point during their chronic kidney disease. And it's important to reach out. So your healthcare team might have access to psychologists and psychiatrists, or in the early stages, your primary healthcare team or your GP might be able to refer you to for this help. If we just think about the last year, which has been incredibly stressful for people without a chronic kidney disease. So if you add on the difficulties of having this disease, it's no wonder that a number of people at the moment are feeling very overwhelmed. So just to re-emphasize, please ask for help. There are places within your clinics, within your healthcare providers and countries that you can access this. So penultimately, we're just going to talk about family and carers. And just before I start this slide, it's important to mention that not everybody has this kind of support. So not everybody lives near family or friends. And therefore, there are patient associations and groups that you can reach out to, maybe patient-to-patient support, but your healthcare team can help you with this as well. It's important to recognise that if a loved one has a chronic illness, that this has an impact on the family as well. And they can suffer with depression and fatigue and burnout. So again, there are a number of different patient associations, and some of those have carer associations attached to them. So reach out and ask for help. So in conclusion, we've talked generally about how to live as well as possible with kidney disease. We talked very briefly about mental health and well-being in the current situation. We've talked more about empowerment and involvement in your care. And we've talked about quality of life. So this is the end of part 1 of our webinar. So I hope this brief presentation has provided you with a little insight into chronic kidney disease. And now we will hear the stories of our patients who've joined us to share their experience with chronic kidney disease. So I'd like to welcome Felipe, Oscarine, and Bárbara. So Felipe, our first guest, is I'm sure many of you already know him from his blog and social media. He started hemodialysis 4 years ago, but this didn't stop him from following his dreams or having a big family. He will tell us about his passion for travel. Our second guest is Oscarine. She never stops smiling. She's been a renal patient for nearly 30 years. She is an award-winning author of the inspiring book, The Big Smile of Mine. She's also a professional life coach and made her life mission to help people with chronic kidney disease. And lastly, but by no means least, is Bárbara, a pharmacist from Portugal. She was diagnosed with kidney disease 25 years ago. She was devastated that she'd never be able to make her dreams come true. But with the help of her mum and sister, as well as thanks to 2 successful transplants, she's the mother of 2, an accomplished professional and proud member of her community. She often calls herself a happy girl. So Felipe, if I start with you. So to travel is to live. I think that this quote is from Hans Christian Andersen, but I think we can apply it as your motto as well. During the pandemic, traveling is a real challenge. But tell us a little bit, Felipe, about the time when you've learned that you have chronic kidney disease, but refuse to give up on your life projects. And with the support of your wife, Katrina, you decided to undertake a trip around the world, proving that nothing is impossible, even for end-stage patients.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Susie. It's true. I started dialysis in 2017, 4 years ago. And of course, with 28 years old, I'm very young, and I felt my world, it's like finish, because I start a new company. My first son born somewhere in April too. So I felt like now I need the machine 3 days off, 3 times in a week. And yeah, this is, but when I start understand the dialysis, the treatments, and of course I speak a lot with the nurse and the doctors about dialysis and the treatments, I start feeling good with, okay, nothing is possible, nothing is the end of the world. So I feel more, okay, everything is possible. So because this, I start thinking about, okay, I need dialysis, and now I want to visit some cities or some countries. It's possible. And with the help with the doctors and the nurse, I understand, yes, it's possible. Because this, in 2019, we start a trip around the world just to prove everything it's possible around the world. Every country have really good clinics, with the professional nurse doctors, and yeah, I'm feeling really good. So I travel almost 1 year with my wife and my son, with 2 years old. So yeah, this is my story.
Felipe, thanks for that. So how did you manage to do that? And what are your plans for the future in the post-pandemic world? Do you still plan to travel with 3 kids?
Of course. Every time I said, when you travel to other country, it's really important to your healthy, your minds, because you feel different stuff, you know, it's a new culture, or just go to the other city in your country. So just to start new weekend or new week. And I think it's really important, if you have this possibility, to just visit your family or just holiday. So because this, of course, we want continuous travel with the 3 kids. We know it's more difficulty, because I spend a lot of time with treatments and care with the kids. But I believe when our family stay happy, we are happy. So it's really important. We talk with our wife or husband to understand what, yeah, it's possible to do it. So enjoy with the kids. Of course, it's with 3 kids. It's not more like the morning visit a museum, afternoon visit. No run. It's like enjoy the holidays or enjoy the city, and I believe you start new again.
Thank you, Felipe. So if I can move on to Oscarine. So Oscarine, as we said earlier, you've been a renal patient for nearly 30 years. You were transplanted twice and now are back on hemodialysis. As you've written in your book, This Big Smile of Mine, you never give up, but continue moving forward no matter what. You're a professional life coach, and as you say, your mission is to help people with chronic kidney disease. Your optimism is contagious. Can you tell us, where do you take your strength from?
Thank you, Susie, for your question. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Diaverum for organizing this informative webinar and for inviting us patients to share our experiences. And to answer your question, I draw my strength from my family and the connections that I make. I find it easy to relate. I draw from experiences of those around me. I see people fighting battles every day. That gives me strength. And witnessing how somebody else is dealing with their own struggle gives me a lot of perspectives. Also, having a purpose in life, you know, it can be as simple as always doing your best, you know, putting a smile on somebody else's face, you know, something simple, just as reaching out on the shelf and getting something for somebody else at the supermarket, and keeping a positive outlook on life, even when things are not going that good. The desire to do what's best and help others in any little way I can keeps me going. Most importantly, my faith keeps me going, my faith in God. Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Thank you, Oscarine. And what would you advise to people at the beginning of their journey with chronic kidney disease?
Well, I would say that the sooner you get over the denial stage, the better. By that I mean, you know, asking yourself, mourning about your past life, why is this happening to me? It just happened. Understanding and taking care, taking charge of your responsibilities as a patient is vital. This is by educating yourself on what renal failure is. get to know renal failure. How does it affect patients in general? Most importantly, how does it affect you as an individual? How does your body react to treatment? How is your body adjusting to this, and that? Once you begin to gather all that information about you and renal failure, you begin to adjust your life accordingly. And you see that you get less stress, for yourself and your loved one. Taking part, it's important to take part in the decision-making process as well. Don't leave it to your medical team alone. Get involved. Help them to help you. Whose life is it anyway?
Thank you. And how do you cope with the mental health challenges related to having chronic kidney disease?
I can laugh about it now. When I first started, I internalized everything that I felt: anger, sadness, resentment, bitterness, depression, feeling suicidal. And I deliberately isolated myself because I felt I was weird. And I thought that, nobody would understand me. And I became emotionally distant from my family and the people around me. But I took one decision, to read about what was eating me, to understand it. And, and now I can talk openly and honestly about it. The doctors and the nurses, they trained to read, x-rays and MRI. They're not trained, they can't read minds. So it's important that we speak about these things. We speak to them, they will direct us, they will refer us to the right healthcare professional. But if you keep silent, nobody will know, and you won't get the help that you need.
Thank you, Oscarine, and thank you for being honest about what is a very difficult subject. So we're going to move on now to Bárbara. So Bárbara, you were diagnosed, as we said earlier, with kidney disease 25 years ago, and you are now enjoying life with your second transplant from a living donor. Could you tell us more about life after transplant and how it's changed?
Hello, Susie. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I thank Diaverum for this invitation. It's a pleasure to share my experience because I think it can help and give hope and help other people. When I discovered that I had a kidney disease, I was 24 and I was just starting my professional life, and I was just married. So I had dreams, too many dreams for my life, and especially I wanted to be a mom. And I was completely devastated in the dark period that Oscarine and Felipe told us about. And I felt it would stop from fulfill those goals that I had for me. So my doctor explained me that I had two different ways to feel with to go with my dreams and to take care, to follow with my life in a different way. And the one was dialysis and waiting for my turn waiting for a transplant surgery, which would take some more or less 4 years. And the other one was to perform almost right away transplant surgery, but from a living donor kidney. This was a recent possibility here in Portugal, and I had to go to another city. I had to go to Coimbra, and it would depend directly to my direct family, like my dad, mom, and my brothers. As I said, I'm talking about a big family. We are 6 brothers and sisters, and without me asking anything, all my family get together, 2 brothers and 3 sisters, and they will they were willing to donate if it was possible. They even formed like a type of contest, a family contest, to see who was the one that is going to win that contest. It was very great for this family. We are now very close in the family. However, my mother stepped ahead and said, I'm able today. If she needs another tomorrow, then you maybe apply. So after some time preparing the transplant, it was very successfully in 1999, in the 3rd of April. Everything went well. And I back to work almost 2.5 months in July, probably in July. And my life was running everything like it was before, just with a bit of liquid water. I could drink every water I would like, and I felt energized, no nutritional restrictions and everything. But my dreams were to be a big family, so I wanted to be a mom. So this was the time to think about it and being a mother. And in 2001, I talked to my daughters. I was very communicate with the doctors and the nurses, and we tested, and I had a pregnancy, a very peaceful pregnancy. And Joanna, she's my first daughter, was born, and now she's 19 years old. But I thought, okay, one of my biggest dreams was completely accomplished. But I wanted more children. I wanted again. So me and my husband, again, my daughters, concluded that the risk was very high. So I need to look after Joanna, to take care of Joanna. It was a small family, but a happy family. So I think with my husband, and that didn't stop me. We went to a different way. So we applied to adopt a child. And after that, Rafael was born in this family when he was 5 years old. Now he's 18. Another of my biggest dream was completely accomplished. But in 2012, after a continuous signs of decreased renal function, I was again diagnosed with kidney failure. So I had to go to dialysis again. And this time I was with Diaverum. And it was different times. After 20, more or less 15 years, everything was different in the dialysis. I noticed a tremendous difference for the best in the quality of treatments, and it was very a physical, much more peaceful period, okay? Then, since I was a mother, I tried to do the dialysis in a period that could be a mom all the time and to go to work again. So I had dialysis in a period of early morning, okay? 1 year later, I think it's 1 year later, my daughter said to me, it's now the time to think about a surgery, a transplant surgery again, but could you please think about a living donor again? And without asking anything, my family joined together again and make the family contest of the kidney. And the winner was my younger sister. And the result was a transplant successfully again. It was even better than the other one. Nowadays, I am a pharmacist. I am still working in a pharmacy, just suspending because of the COVID-19, because of my immunosuppression. I don't know if that's the word, sorry. I have 4 kidneys here with me, even though just one is functional. And I take medication every day for the rest of my life. I had to change the dialysis for medication, but everything is okay. My mother and my sister, they are living perfectly okay, normal lives, no restrictions, everything is okay. And I'm very thankful to them, of course. And every day I thank God for the luck that I had and I have today. And I started giving more time for helping other people. I watching the world around and I try to make it different. I assure you, that's for everyone. I assure you that it's completely possible to live well with kidney disease. Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you, Barbara. Great answers. So I'm going to hand back now to Kirsty for our question and answer session.
Great. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Felipe. Thank you, Oscarine. Thank you, Barbara. Fantastic to just hear some really great stories. And everybody's so different, but the common thread, everybody living a fulfilling life. So we've got some good time for questions now. We've got about 20 minutes, which is fantastic. I'm going to start off with one that I can see. And it's actually back for Barbara. And what I suggest, because I might flip around with questions, could I ask Barbara and Oscarine and Felipe and Susie to keep their cameras on right now so that I can flip between all of you? That would be fantastic. But first, this one goes to Barbara. Barbara, how long has it taken you to go back to normal life after transplant? And was it laparoscopic surgery or traditional open surgery?
The first one in 1999, it was open surgery even for me and my mother. And I got back working in 2 months, I think. And the second one, it was a open surgery for me and a laparoscopy for my sister, just 3 holes, okay? It was very quickly. She got back to work almost immediately, and I got back to work 2 months later. Without pains, without restrictions. It was okay. It was very good.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you. And by the way, you have a comment in from one of our viewers right now who says, Barbara, you're a model and an example for all the people, and we and all the family. Oh, maybe it's one of your family. Are so much proud of you. Lots of love. It's great to have the family online. We love that bit of cheerleading. Right, next one I've got, Oscarine, for you. Are you going for 3 transplants? Do you have a 3rd one planned in?
I haven't ruled that option yet. So that's why it's for me, because I really know what's happening with me, and knowing my vascular access and everything. I've just put that on hold for now, so, but I haven't ruled it out.
Okay, I love your positive attitude, it's fantastic. Felipe, got some questions in here. One from Henrik, who's one of our viewers today. Do you have dialysis in center or do you have it at home? And a second question actually from Inez, also to you. Can you travel to other continents? So this is a on the move travel question, Felipe.
Okay. Yes, I every time I did dialysis in the clinic, never try at home. It's my option. Okay. Of course, when you start dialysis, when you talk with the doctors, we have 2-3 options about dialysis. It's possible to do it in a home. But in my case, I think in a clinic it's really good. We have a really professional people work there, and I'm felt very safety. So every time I did dialysis, and I continue dialysis right now in a clinic. The second question, yes, it's possible to travel to other continents. So I'm talking about 2019 when I started my trip around the world. And I did dialysis in 28 countries, 3 continents. So North America, Central America, Europe, and Asia. So it's possible everywhere in the different countries, in the different continents. One advice is start talking with the doctors about your condition, okay? And if you are afraid, try do it dialysis not far from your clinic. Just start in your country, but in other clinic to feel more safety. After, yeah, you continue to other country and enjoy the life.
Great. So I think, Inez, hopefully that answers your question. A resounding yes to other continents. 28 countries, Felipe. That's more than most people have ever traveled to. Great. Now, Susie, a couple of questions for you. One actually from Liliane. Thank you very much, Liliane, for sending your question in. What's the cause of renal failure? Cause or causes, Susie?
Sure. So there are a number of different causes. One of the most common is high blood pressure can cause damage to your kidneys, and also diabetes. But there are a number of others, and you know, it just varies from patients to patients. But yeah, hypertension and diabetes are the most common.
Okay. Thank you. And another one here, which you might answer first, but actually our guests might also have some personal experience, which is, are there foods to avoid or foods that help?
So it depends on which stage of chronic kidney disease you're at. So at the earlier stages, your diet is probably pretty normal. But once you end up on a treatment, then yeah, there are some foods that your dietitian would ask you to avoid eating. For example, anything that's high in potassium. So that's some fruit and some vegetables. But again, this is really individual to people. So also sometimes what patients are asked to restrict are phosphate. So things like your cheese and your milks. But I think it would be great to hear the experiences of the three patients, because they'll be able to give you a real answer. Yeah.
Thanks, Susie. Bárbara, why don't you go first, then Oscarine, then Felipe? Your experiences on food.
Okay, now I don't have some no restrictions because I can eat everything, but I have to be careful about salt, okay, about sugar because of my medicines also, and I have to take care of my protein, the amount, the quantity of protein that I had to eat, and I have to complete it with exercise, regular exercise. I have to drink a lot of water. I think it's the opposite of Felipe and Oscarine, and I think that's a difficult thing to deal in dialysis.
Thanks, Bárbara. Oscarine.
Yeah, I'll say that, you know, if you talk to your dietitian, that's important. It's important to talk to your dietitian because, you know, they will tell you what food to avoid and what food to eat more. So for me, I basically avoid a lot of things with potassium, salt, and phosphate. That's the main things that I avoid.
Okay.
In my treatment.
But there's and today's supermarkets and food stores, is it possible, or do you just have to be mindful and to manage the diet?
Yes, you can. It takes a while to get used to it. It takes a while to get used to it, but once you get into once you decide that, you know what, I'm going to do this, you can do it. But it takes a while, you know, for somebody to tell you that you can't be eating this, you can't be eating that, you know, it's very restrictive. But you have to be moderate and listen to your doctors, listen to your dietitians.
Yeah. Good tips. Thank you. Felipe, thoughts from you? As you're traveling to other continents.
I had to learn about the foods and of course the drinkings, because I remember when I'm young, before the start dialysis, every day it's like 1-2 liters water I drank. But when I start dialysis, of course, I learn about potassium, phosphates, and salt. Every food have something. But yeah, for me, start easy to, okay, keep something outside of my diet. It's not good for my body. So I want to live long life. So it's very important to continue the diet.
Good, great. Thanks, Felipe. And Susie, there's one here for you from Analia Severino. During dialysis, can you carry on with your work? So for general patients, can you work for a company, or do you need to then become a freelance worker? Can people still have a career with a single company if they choose to, or are they laid out low when they're on dialysis?
That's an excellent question, and I'm going to answer it, but I also think Barbara can probably comment on this as well. So it's absolutely possible to continue to work if you're well enough whilst you're on dialysis. And what you can do is, dialysis units quite often open really early in the morning and really late at night. So you can quite often request a later dialysis session. So if you're going to work and you're doing the traditional 9 to 5, then it's possible that you might be able to do dialysis after that time. Or a lot of workplaces will work flexibly. So they might, if you work longer one day and shorter another, or part-time might be a good option. But absolutely, if you want to and you're well enough to continue to work, your healthcare team will do everything. And in those cases, a home-based dialysis might be a really good option, because that allows you then to fit your treatment in around your work. But yeah, it's possible. You don't have to go self-employed or contractor. You can continue to work for the same company. But Barbara, you've got experience of this, haven't you? So maybe you could just add on a little bit towards the end of that for me.
Yeah. Okay. When I did my first transplant, I was working all the time, and my period of transplants, I asked for after work one. I did it from 8 p.m. to midnight. So I was working all the time. And the second one, I asked for the first one because I was a mom. I wanted to get up my kids and to stay or go to school with them, to take them to school, not to go to school with them, of course. And what I asked for the first period. So I was there till from 6 in the morning to 10 o'clock. And then I told in my job that normally when you are in dialysis, you don't go to the bathroom. So that's hour that I take. It was that period that I didn't waste going to the bathroom, sorry. But it's just a change, okay?
It's great honesty. Thank you for sharing that, Barbara. There's probably many people on the webinar who are wanting to understand that sort of information, so thank you. Oscarine, different tack, different question for you. And before I just ask Oscarine the question, we're getting loads of questions, which is fantastic. Thank you. So keep them coming. We've still got about 10 minutes left. We're getting loads. Oscarine, was your kidney disease a trigger to write your book?
Yes. Yeah. It was sort of a therapy for me writing the book, because I told you that I internalized a lot of things when I first started, and talking about it, that's how I did it. Talking about it in the book, all those feelings that I felt and how I dealt with it. Yeah, it was kind of a therapy for me. So yeah.
Good, great. And you've been able to share ideas with others through it as well. Fantastic. Felipe, question for you, another travel one. I think you might need to do a travel show here. In Europe, while traveling, you can use the European health card, but how do you pay for your treatments outside the EU? Do you pay for them yourself?
Yes, of course, outside the Europe, the treatments, it's different countries, but a little bit expensive. Of course, if you have this condition, it's possible you travel to these countries and you pay the treatment, the sessions. In my case, when we start this trip around the world, we sold our home, we sold everything to do it this, because this is the biggest dream in our life, to prove to the people it's possible to travel around the world. Of course, we understand it's not possible to everyone, but outside the Europe, yeah, I pay every treatment.
Okay, so you've got to really want to travel, which clearly you do. Fantastic. Okay. A question, I think, probably for all of you, which is, and Oscarine, you've mentioned this. Tell us a little bit about positive mental attitude and how that impacts how you deal with this. And Bárbara, I'll go to you first, then Oscarine, then Felipe.
Okay, you need to see the bright side of life. You need to go, and if the door is closed, you look for a window. It's just turning around, because if the head is okay, so normally I've heard it from a doctor in Coimbra. If your head is okay, then everything is going to be okay. You just need to have hope. I have faith also. So it's very easy for me, I think, much easier than if I didn't have it. And with the help of my friends, my family, even my husband, he's the one of that I'm always talking about my questions, about my bad thoughts. And normally this is a family disease. I think some of you here I have talked about it, and it's a family disease. When you have a big family, they talk me, oh, never mind, let it be. So I had to get up again, go to work, even my feet are like this. So it's a learning all the time. It's a path that you are always learning, because I have much luckier than Felipe and Oscarine, of course, but even here, I have to go to my path every day and think about it, because it will be end, of course. I would need another one. And next, 1 week ago, I had sorry, can I tell this story? 1 week ago, my brother of me had a high pressure blood, and he phoned me, because I'm a pharmacist, and he told me, Bárbara, what is going to happen, because I have a little bit of higher pressure, and I am taking care of your next kidney. It was completely mad. Okay, so we just played a bit. We kidding. We are always kidding about it, instead of going down and in a bad way. So
positive side gives you strength. Thank you, Bárbara. Oscarine.
Yeah, I think it's important to see every good side of the picture, and keeping a positive attitude. Like Bárbara, I have a big family as well, and without them, I won't be here. Everybody is in there. Anytime I'm down, you know what? They're always there. And you know what? I always say, the saying, laughter is the best medicine. So, everything makes me laugh. I always see the good side of everything. Like Bárbara said, when the door is shut, look for a window. Probably your kidneys are not working, but you got 2 legs, you got a brain, you got 2 arms, all is not lost. So that's the way I see it.
Right, thank you. Thanks, Oscarine. Felipe, follow that from these two.
Well,
Could you be more positive?
Yeah, Bárbara and Oscarine, it's a really good answer, and it's true. Of course, just a little question. It's like, sometimes I feel tired with the dialysis, but it's not due continued negative. No, it sometimes happen. But if you try to change this and keep your mind positive, it's more easy to felt better. Of course, I have 3 beautiful sons, and now all my life, every day, it's like I want to show to my sons the life. So I want to go to the school with I want to go to the park to play with the other kids. So of course I have this it's extra positive mind, you know, but it's really important you add a support for your family. And if you need talk with someone, with doctor or your wife or husband, it's very important to talk about your feelings, you know. And so I believe it's possible you add like this positive life all over and once.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, this is the last question we're going to do because we're going to wrap up in a minute. And so quick thoughts from each of you. If you could meet yourself when you discovered your illness, what advice would you give yourself? And Analia, I'm probably pronouncing your name wrongly, but thank you so much for this question. What a wonderful question to finish on. If you could meet yourself when you discovered your illness, what advice would you give yourself? Let's go Barbara first.
Okay, it's my time again. Okay, let's do. It's a difficult question because when you are there, everything is dark. It's like, what now? What about my dreams? What about my life? What about my family? What about everything? But I have to tell Bárbara that she has to be hope. She has to listen doctors. She has to look to other peoples, to other countries, because Oscarine said we have legs and eyes and arms and everything. So the life goes on. Even if you don't have a leg, the life goes on. So you just learn. You just have to learn. You just have to fulfill your dreams in a different way. That's why I adopted Rafael. I wanted another one, but my husband says to me, "Go, come down," because my life is completely full with other things. But that's the way. You had to live your life without that for hours. I stayed in the dialysis, always working in a PC, in a computer, and I did so much things. So hope and learn about it. Learn how to live that way. And you realize that it's not the end of the world. You realize that you can live with kidney disease. You can live well, just not live well, a great life. And I'm just a happy girl. I don't know what to say more.
Thank you, Barbara. Oscarine, meeting yourself coming backwards, what are you saying to yourself?
I'll say that I wish I knew what I know now when I was younger, when I first started, because I didn't want to know anything. I didn't even want to talk about it. I didn't want to talk about dialysis or anything to do with it. But the moment that I started to learn, things became easier for me. So I'll say to myself, you know, be easy, go easy on yourself, you know, go easy on yourself. If you can do it, it's okay. If you can't do it, if you can handle it, it's still okay, you know. Talk to your family, talk to your doctors. Yeah, which I wasn't doing.
You are now. Thanks, Oscarine. Felipe, finish us up with you meet yourself when you're first diagnosed. What would you say?
If I met myself, I think the biggest advice is you are strong than you think. And this is really true, because sometimes when we start dialysis, we felt, no, I can do it this, I'm very tired, I'm very young, I don't believe more in my life. So if you look inside, you really strong. So this is my advice.
Wonderful. Thank you. Now, we have reached the end of our webinar, but Susie, for sharing your presentation, your thoughts and your wisdom. Bárbara, Oscarine, Felipe, I can't thank you enough for sharing your perspectives, and the comments we're getting from participants are fantastic as well, saying brilliant to hear your stories. And people are delighted that you are living fulfilling lives. And I think people are learning from you on this webinar. So thank you so much for your input. As mentioned at the beginning of this webinar, this is our second in a series of 4 this year, and we hope you'll join us for more of them. We've got 2 more coming up, one in September on the 23rd, which is technology that supports patients with CKD. And then on the 25th of November, we're going to talk about health literacy. And also you can still view our first webinar that was on vaccines back in March on our YouTube channel. So please look out for more communications nearer the time on our next ones in September and November. Just remains for me to say thank you so much to everybody who's signed up for this and also who is on our live Facebook streaming for joining us today. We really appreciate the engaged participation. Thank you so much. And you can find more on our approach to providing care for and with our patients at our website and on our social media channels. So with that, thank you very much. Thank you again to everybody, and good night from Diaverum. Thank you.